You know what else we're talking about here, Jane and Jerry? We're talking about accountability. Are some of these patients locked up and forgotten, or is the state trying to help? I can assure you of this. Family members and friends of the dead patients don't forget. They don't want mistakes and oversight swept away, and they want you to know that it could happen to you. Tonight we found another death. A patient who was committed to Patton and was said to have died from an overdose of the drug Darvon. But is that what really happened? Tonight we have reason to doubt the state's story to a man who was committed by reason of insanity. Most patients at Patton State Hospital are considered criminally insane. That is, mentally ill and accused of a crime. It is your tax dollars which pay for patients to come here for rehabilitation. Some wait here until doctors say they are competent to stand trial. Others are lifers. Their illness is so severe that there's little hope they'll ever be released. For both groups, the primary treatment at Patton State is medication, antipsychotic drugs. Medication is linked to the 3 deaths we are investigating. This is Thomas Harmison. He's accused of murdering 2 people in Riverside County 3 years ago. Diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic, he was unable to stand trial for the murders, so he was placed into the state mental health system where they were to restore him to his sanity and ready him for trial. He never had one. February 25th this year, he died at Patton.
What is the motion set for?
Harmison's attorney is public defender Howard Gilbert. He says his client should not have died, but he is the only one trying to unravel the web of contradictions surrounding his client's death. He says getting to the bottom of Harmison's death is vital to all of us.
After all, it could be done to you or to me or to anyone else who comes within the power of the state.
The contradictions begin with a coroner's investigation. It states the cause of death was an overdose of the painkiller propoxyphene, commonly known as Darvon. In fact, so much Darvon was found in his tissue that ingestion, quote, had been going on for many days, if not longer, but at no time had Harmison been prescribed Darvon.
We highly suspect that it came in from a visit.
Bill Summers is the new executive director at Patton. He came on board after Harmison died, but when asked about Harmison's death, he denied that Darvon is even used at Patton.
It's well established that we do not give Darvon to our patients, so the drug had to come from some other source. We suspect it was smuggled into the patient.
But later in the interview, he admitted, yes, they do use Darvon.
Well, we have prescribed it in very limited cases. We did not prescribe it to that patient or to any other patient that particular patient was on the same unit with.
But there are more contradictions. Look at the differences between the San Bernardino coroner's autopsy report and Harmison's confidential medical records. The medical records show he was given the antidepressant drug trazodone right up to and including the day he died. But now look at the autopsy report. No trazodone was found in his system.
Something is seriously wrong in their record keeping, in their medication, but more importantly in the fact that they're trying to hide this.
Gilbert is referring to still another confusion. This time it involves the drug Prolixin, a strong antipsychotic. The medical records show Harmison had regular Prolixin injections. The coroner had 2 tests done for Prolixin levels in Harmison's blood after he died. The concentrations are measured in nanograms. One laboratory said Harmison had a concentration of 4 nanograms per milliliter. Another lab reported a concentration of 40, or 10 times the first. 40, according to the autopsy report, would be well into the toxic range and cannot be ruled out as a contributing factor in the death of Mr. Harmison. So what would you do if the results from 2 laboratories were so far apart?
Certainly there should be another test by an independent laboratory to determine the level of Prolixin.
The autopsy report says the coroner could not test again because his people could only locate 2 labs nationwide which performed the analysis. But we had no trouble finding labs. Here's one in Knoxville, Tennessee. Just send us the sample. We have a toll-free number, they told us. And another one here in Nashville, Tennessee. Same thing. They perform the Prolixin test all the time. San Bernardino coroner Brian McCormick wouldn't talk on camera, so we asked about all those contradictions by phone. He said he would answer in writing.
What we received were copies of reports he knew we already had. These are the reports we've been showing you. The reports that show that Harmison had an overdose of Darvon in his system, that he had no trazodone in his system, even though records show he'd been getting it, and conflicting lab reports which show an injected antipsychotic drug might have killed him.
We sent the reports back, this time with written questions. He never answered them. All these unanswered questions take us to Sacramento and the State Health Department. The Division of Licensing and Certification is supposed to make sure deaths like Harmison's are investigated thoroughly. They have the power to write citations and fine Patton, but in this case, they found nothing wrong.
I believe that we are doing a very good job.
Mary Louise Mock says her department's investigation was complete, despite all the loose ends.
If, in fact, those were investigated and no citation was issued, that would mean the circumstances surrounding that would not warrant a citation. That whatever happened did not warrant a citation.
I think they killed him.
Harmison's attorney, Howard Gilbert, is far from satisfied.
Here's another reason why. These appear to be two identical coroner's reports on Harmison's death. But now take a closer look. One we obtained early this summer. The other one a couple months later. The early one says, for more information, refer to a Patton State Hospital report prepared by a senior special investigator. It's part of the record. It's supposed to be attached. But in the later report, reference to that investigator's report disappears. We tried to get a copy of that report from the coroner, and we got the same answer Attorney Gilbert got.
That the report had been destroyed, at least insofar as their copy was.
The coroner referred us to Patton to get a copy of the report, but Patton wouldn't give us one. So what was once public record is no more. And one more thing. Gilbert, for months, tried to get his client off that antipsychotic drug Prolixin. He says it made it impossible to prepare Harmison for trial, and the drug jeopardized his client's life. Harmison himself asked a judge to take him off the drug. He cited various concerns, including sudden death. But instead of taking him off Prolixin, Patton did the opposite.
He'd been having that same dosage for almost 2 years. While we were fighting to get him off the medication totally, they doubled his dosage without notification. They did it on February 20th. 5 days later, he was dead.
Gilbert says medical records show no reason for the increase in dosage.
But in my viewpoint, Mr. Harmison's viewpoint, they did not have the power to continue to force him to take mind-altering drugs, which interfered both with his ability to defend himself, our ability to prepare a case, and created a danger to Mr. Harmison's life.
And so, did Harmison die of Darvon poisoning, or from an overdose of his antipsychotic drugs, or something else, maybe a combination? We'll never know until the tests are done. And so, until the system insists on full accountability, this could happen to any of us who might come under the power of the state. Tomorrow night, we'll be back with more on this. We'll examine another death filled with questions at Patton State Hospital. This time it'll be a patient death that some say Patton tried to cover up. Tomorrow night, right here, Prime 9 News at 8.
I'm looking forward to that. It raises an interesting point. While many people criticize the defendant's use of insanity as a defense, if they're in fact committed to a state mental institution like this, could this in fact be worse than serving regular time?
That is what some of the patients would say. Of course, you go to a mental health facility when you plead an insanity defense. The idea is that they prepare you for trial of some kind. In this case, some of the people we've talked to inside of Patton say, opt for prison. Don't go to Patton State.
Interesting.
We'll see you tomorrow night.
Okay.
Looking forward to that.